The unimaginable wealth of the Saudi bloodline. Saudi Arabia couldn't have found oil at a better time. It was the 1930s, and the United States was just beginning to grow into the world's most powerful country. To fuel this growth, they needed a lot of oil. So where could they find it? Yes, you guessed it right, Saudi Arabia. Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. In today's video, we are going to tell you about the unimaginable wealth of the Saudi bloodline. So stay with us till the end of the video so you don't miss any information. Besides being a source of fuel, oil is used in everything from factories to homes to plastics and even fertilizer for our food. So whoever has control of the most of the world's oil is very powerful. So Saudi Arabia invited the US over to build a relationship with them. They sold the US $170,000 worth of land, which happened to be the biggest oil fields on the planet. The Saudi government set up a joint venture with the fourth largest oil companies in the United States, and this joint venture was called Aramco. Saudi Arabia was smart. They knew they had a lot of power because of their oil, but they also knew that these huge oil fields would be a problem for them. What would stop Saudi Arabia's not-so-friendly neighbors from just going in and taking over their oil fields? Not much. They needed security. So in 1945, when the United States needed oil to help fight the war, it made a deal with King Abdul Aziz. In exchange for security, the United States would train Saudi soldiers and build a state-of-the-art military base. In return, Saudi Arabia would sell them as much oil as they needed. The House of AsSAD is now the richest royal family in the world, with an estimated value of over $1.4 trillion. This is more than the GDP of Australia, Spain, Mexico, and even Switzerland. In comparison, the British royal family is only worth around $88 billion. This means the House of AsSAD is worth 16 British royal families. It's not very well known in the West that the Saudi dynasty is powerful, even though they're one of the most powerful bloodlines in the world. It's always scandal after corruption allegations when the Saudi royal family is in the news. But the Saudi dynasty has learned that with enough money and assassinations, any problem can be solved with a little help. Because the House of AsSAD is an absolute monarchy, they control all of the state-owned businesses. This means that they always know what to invest in and which businesses to start from, which makes them a lot of money. Unfortunately, we don't have as much power or insight as we would like to have. After the House of AsSAD and the United States made a deal in 1945, they worked together in peace. As the US rose to power over the years, so did the House of AsSAD. Everything was going well until the US got involved with Israel in 1973. The Arab-Israeli War pitted most of the Arab countries against Israel, which was trying to take over land from the Palestinians. The US thought they would back Israel, which made the entire Middle East angry. As a punishment, the biggest oil-producing countries in the Arab world, which were part of the organization called OPEC, decided it was time to teach the US a lesson. The Saudi king told Aramco to stop drilling, and then there was an oil shortage, unlike anything the world had ever seen. To make a point, if you cut off an empire's fuel, they will fall apart in a matter of months. That was the situation the United States was in. So the American empire had to make a new deal with the king of oil, Saudi Arabia. If Saudi agreed to sell oil only in US dollars, which the US could print out of thin air, the US would give Saudi weapons, military training, and political support, all in the name of protecting America's lifeblood. The Petrodollar was born out of this agreement. Oil, the fuel of the world, is only sold in dollars, giving the US an advantage over other empires because they could print dollars out of thin air, giving them free oil. In return, Saudi Arabia got the protection it needed. This agreement led to an almost unbreakable alliance between the US and Saudi Arabia that still stands today. Saudi Arabia now has a new problem. They had enough oil to supply the world, but now they have too much money. In 1980, Saudi had a population of 9 million people, but it was making billions of dollars in profit. The royal family took as much money as they could, reinvested in the US, and bought out a company called Aramco, which meant that the House of AsSAD took over oil production in the country and renamed the company Saudi Aramco. All oil production and sales were now controlled by the royal family. They became even richer than they had been before, and it only got better from there. But the House of AsSAD didn't want to deal with it. Now comes the Bin Ladens. AsSAD and Bin Laden were good friends. The Bin Laden family owned one of the biggest construction businesses in Saudi Arabia and worked to build up the country. Osama went to Afghanistan to fight against the Soviets under the orders of Saudi Arabia. The king agreed to help the United States in their fight against communism. So the king sent his best men, which included Osama. When Osama came back from Afghanistan, he was very angry that the United States was using Saudi Arabia, the Islamic world's holiest country, as a military playground. The House of AsSAD couldn't just kick their American friends out and lose all that money. They tried to do a delicate balance between keeping the US happy and not losing their best construction company. But that wasn't enough for Osama, so he turned his hatred on the US. The royal family refused to accept that their people were involved, even after America revealed who was behind 9/11 and how 15 of 19 people who were involved were from their country. American dollars were important to Saudi Arabia, but without the support of its Muslim citizens, the House of AsSAD would not be able to run the country, as long as they did not lose the trust of the people who kept them in power in the past. The United States has invaded almost every country in the Middle East, except for the one where most of the men came from. In the world, Saudi Arabia is the biggest buyer of guns, and the most of the guns that they buy come from the US. America would buy oil in dollars, and the House of AsSAD would use the same dollars to buy weapons. It was the perfect trade. But then 9/11 came along, and it didn't work out. Osama was from Saudi Arabia, and many Saudis were involved in the attack, so everyone thought the US would stop selling to them because of that. But that didn't happen in 2020, and the US kept selling to them. Saudi Arabia spent more than $46 billion on its military, but most of the money went to the US. The House of AsSAD and the US agreed to a new deal, as long as it looked like Saudi was going after the terrorists. America can keep giving weapons to Saudi Arabia because it was so important to keep the peace in the Middle East. They sold more weapons to the House of AsSAD, and it turns out that many of those weapons ended up in the hands of terrorists that they were trying to fight. When the weapons aren't sold to America's enemies, they help Saudi Arabia wage wars like the one in Yemen. Saudis aren't as modest as they seem. Once, Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, planned the party to end all parties in July 2015. He rented the entire Maldives resort for a month, which cost him $50 million. Then, he brought in 150 women and celebrities like Pitbull, Jennifer Lopez, and Afrojack, and they all came together for the party, all for him to perform and entertain his few dozen male friends. The Saudis drank, the Saudis partied, and at one point, MBS even chased the DJ off stage so he could try out the turntables. It was everything you would expect from a Middle Eastern billionaire, and more until the party was made public. The Saudis left, the women were taken back to where they came from, and MBS reappeared in his home country, dressed in his traditional clothes and dancing. And that's all for today, guys. Enlighten us with your thoughts, share them with us in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon for more amazing videos. And thank you for watching.